Welcome to another episode of Investies. This week on the podcast, I have one of the most important announcements of my life. I am moving forward with taking a seat as state representative for District 107 in the state of Texas. Before I get into what the responsibilities of this role will be, I want to talk to you about how this transpired. This year in 2023, I have been able to acknowledge the lack of representation in monetary policy from the perspective of people of color. And this has been something that has been deeply bothering me. Those that are closest to me have heard me talk about this over and over again. When I watch Fed Chair Powell talk about monetary policy and he is being questioned by a room of reporters that is very important because these reporters are not only holding policymakers accountable, but they also have the power to plant seeds of perspective. It is very rare to see even reporters that are people of color questioning the actions of monetary policymakers. And the politicians that have the most influence on monetary policy tend to be white. There is a lack of perspective from a person of color. And so I have been building up this desire to one day in the future potentially impact monetary policy within politics. This is something that I was seeing for myself much later down the future, in my 60s maybe. Definitely not anytime soon. On Saturday, December 9th, late at night, I received a text message to consider running for this position. On Sunday, December 10th, I had a meeting with the current state rep, the one that I would be replacing. I understood that there was a high chance that no one would run against me and that the runway could potentially be clear for me to take the seat. However, there was always a chance that another candidate could come in, that a Republican or a Libertarian would decide to run. As of today, we are very confident that the runway is clear and that I will be taking this seat. The decision to do this was life-altering, and it definitely was not an easy decision, one that I needed to make in just a couple of hours. It will be a sacrifice. I will have to move to Austin for 5 months out of the year. And if you know me personally, you know that my children mean everything to me. My son is only 7 years old, and he would be impacted the most. I want to share with you one of the biggest reasons that pulled me to move into this direction. The position only pays $7,000. Meanwhile, this position in California and in New York pays over $100,000. When I heard that only $7,000 is what someone in this position earns, I wanted to take the seat because I understood that if they did not find anyone by the following day at 6 p.m., that this seat could potentially go to a Republican. I also understood the slim chances of finding another woman of color that lives in my district that would be able to afford to put herself in this position. My district is working class. My house costs $262,000. That is in and around how much the homes in my area cost. It was very clear to me that this is by design. I went onto the internet and I checked to see how much other states paid for this position, and I saw a common thread. In Republican states, this position sometimes gets paid $0. This means that you have to be extremely well off to sustain yourself in this position. As soon as I put those pieces of the puzzle together, I felt like there was no turning back. I have decided to be of service and represent the constituents in my district and bring forward their biggest concerns to the state. With that being said, I am fully aware that the laws that I will advocate for will impact Texans across the state. And so while my top concern is my constituents, I understand that I will be impacting the state of Texas. It was important for myself and for Rep. Victoria Nieve Criado to maintain a Latina with progressive values in this seat. I am currently surrounded by a team of volunteers that are helping me execute my website, that are helping me put all the pieces in place so that I can succeed in this position. With that being said, I am sensitive to having only a team of volunteers that are not getting paid for their contributions. I understand the importance of being a public servant, but I also understand the importance of getting paid. At this moment, we have no funds in the account, and I want to make sure that I can hire a staff, that I can go out and campaign to those that have never met me before. I am seeking support. I am seeking contributions to help us move forward and make the changes that need to be made in the state of Texas. The backwards decisions made by politicians that have impacted the state of Texas are not isolated to Texas. Texas is a leader in this country, and we need to make sure that it is leading forward and not backwards. We need to make sure that we continue the fight for women's rights, that we protect the resources for healthcare and education for our people. I am calling for your support. Whether you live in Texas or outside of Texas, your contribution matters. Head over to lindafortexas.com, lindafortexas.com to make a contribution. Your contribution is going to help mobilize a team of volunteers. It's going to help support me through this entire process. While I am making the contribution of my time and my effort and my perspective and my advocacy, I would appreciate for you to support with your monetary contribution. I also want to make it very clear that In Lose We Trust will remain an educational platform as we continue to learn about economics, the stock market, and of course, monetary policy. As we continue to understand a scarcity mindset and move towards an abundance mindset, that we are not limited to our current circumstances, but we are as expansive as everyone else has the potential to be expansive in this country. Investees will also remain a podcast that is intact, focused on the education of our community members. I appreciate your support during this process. I'm your host, Linda Garcia, and you're listening to Investies, a Cosmic Standard and In Luz We Trust production. A very special thank you to the team, Eliza Smith, Jacob Winnick, and Asia Simpson.